I was just pretending like I know how to play the ukulele. Aloha, scaredy cats. It's me, Scaredy Matt. Welcome back to the Summer Phantasm, where we're talking about the Phantasm movies for the summer. The time when you watch Phantasm. I don't know why this is so confusing to people. It's very straightforward. It's the summertime. We're watching the summer movie franchise, Phantasm. Up this week, Phantasm 3, The Lord of the Dead. Folks, that dastardly tall man is up to his old tricks again, and it's up to Ice Cream Man turned horny savior Reggie, and boy turned man turned another second man, Mike, to save the day. That's right, A. Michael Baldwin is back, and he's more or less in this movie. Sure, he doesn't have a lot to do, but he's here. The gang's all back together. Except Liz. Liz died. She died at the end of 2. I hope you weren't too attached to Liz, because they did spend a whole movie building her up, like her psychic connection with Mike and how they were in love. But she did die, and then Tall Man waves her head around, and that's it. It's never brought up again. So, that's all for Liz. Cool. You know, it's a little difficult to invest in Phantasm 3, The Lord of the Dead, because so much of the movie feels like a retread of material that was done better in previous movies. There's still some fun stuff, and it still takes weird detours into the surreal, but mostly, it's just more of the same. The film picks up where the previous one left off. Tall Man takes Liz's head, like I talked about earlier. There's a tense standoff between Reggie and the Tall Man because Reggie has some kind of future grenade with blinking lights and shit. Is that a real kind of grenade? It looks very silly on screen. It would have been enough to just pull the pin out of a regular grenade. Everyone knows how a grenade works. Mike's in a coma and he meets Jody in heaven. This nice nurse is telling him to go to the light, but then, uh-oh, Tall Man is waiting for him in heaven. And the nurse is a zombie. I guess it was a setup. I guess God was in on it. Reggie fights off the nurse, and then this happens. Oh, that's right, Sphere fans. The ball is back. I hope you like spheres, because this one's all about those spheres. They're not just a cool gimmicky weapon anymore. They're the focus of the whole movie, up to and including one of the spheres becoming a main character. You'll see what I mean in a minute. That's not a joke. That is a key plot point. So they fight off that mean old sphere, and Reggie takes Mike to his place to hide from the Tall Man. Mike sees his brother Jody, who died in the first movie, chilling on the side of the road, and he's like, that's fine. Wait a minute, that's better than fine. That's my brother. I love that guy. Except nope, he imagined it. Except nope, he didn't. Jody's back. Except nope, he's a sphere now, and he can project holograms and talk to you in your dreams. But uh-oh, Tall Man can track him, and then Tall Man shows up and takes Mike through a dimensional pitchfork. Wave goodbye to Mike, everybody. He's gonna be out of the movie for a little while. Jody Ball 2000 tells Reggie to go to some place called Holtzville, a ghost town that was destroyed by the Tall Man, but people in the area think was the site of a chemical spill or some shit. There he sees a hot lady rummaging through a car, and Reggie's super horny, as always, so he's like, what's up? Turns out the hot lady is part of a trio of Batman villains, and they kidnap Reggie and put him in the trunk of his new Hemikuta, the original Hemikuta having been destroyed in Phantasm 2. They drive to a big spooky house for some reason, and it's covered in spooky clowns, and they decide to rob it, naturally. But then one by one, they're killed off by a series of improvised traps and weapons created by a kid named Tim. Tim is fucking stone cold.
What's going on out there?
He's been surviving on his own since the Tall Man got his parents, in one of the scariest scenes of the franchise. In the morning, the Batman villains' graves have been dug up. That's fine. Reggie tries to drop Tim off at an orphanage, but Tim is like, nah. Reggie investigates a mortuary and runs into Rocky and Tanisha, who immediately kick his ass and handcuff him. I'm not quite clear why. They're survivors of a Tall Man incident. Maybe they think Reggie works with the Tall Man. Either way, a sphere shows up and gorgles up Tanisha's brain. So Rocky does what anyone would do and fights the sphere with nunchucks. The sphere somehow survives being hit with a stick on a chain, and it has Rocky and Reggie cornered until Tim saves the day with a shot from his father's service revolver. So then the trio team up to finish off that dang tall man again. Ugh. Then the movie gets boring for a little while. There are some antics. Reggie is a terrible, terrible sex pest to Rocky in a scene that I guess dudes thought was funny in the 90s, but it has not aged well. One night, Jody Ball leads Reggie through a dream tunnel made of lasers. It's a Phantasm movie, just go with it. So they rescue Mike, and Jody opens up a dimensional tuning fork and pulls Mike out, and then Reggie closes it like he did in that first movie. And they're getting sick of this fucking tall man following them around everywhere, so they go to hide in a mortuary because,
Now, why the hell would we do that?
It's the last place he'd look.
Why, though? That's the first place he goes, all the time. Also, he's tracking you through a psychic link. Look, whatever, it's Phantasm. The final act has to take place in a mortuary. That's fine. This mortuary has a cryogenics lab where, and I love this, they've got a big vat of liquid nitrogen and a bunch of severed heads just chilling in a tank. That can't be how that works. But it's 100% how it should work in the movie. Just a big vat of floating heads. That's great. Mike remembers the tall man hates the cold. Ice attacks are super effective against him. So is he a fire type? I don't buy it. He's a ground type. Hey everybody, this is Matt editing this video, and I realized that that's not... I thought he would be a ground type because he puts things in the ground, like he buries things, but the more I think about it, the more he's probably like ghost psychic or ghost dark. I knew that if I didn't correct myself here, that's what the comments would be about forever. So everyone settles in for the night, sleeping in weird places and eating beans with knives. Knife beans! Mike and Jody Ball astral project to see the tall man doing his thing. Turns out them balls we've been seeing, they got dwarf brains in them. That's what their thing is. It's full of dwarf brains. Reggie starts getting a blowjob and he's like, oh, yo, sick, this must be Rocky, who's been constantly rejecting my advances and seems disgusted by me. But no. It's the sexy Batman villain from earlier. Remember those guys? They're in the movie again. It's an all-out zombie fight, and mostly spheres. Both Jody and Regular do the heavy lifting here, punching a perfectly round hole in one of their heads and twisting the entire head off another, but Reggie does get in a good one-liner.
If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs.
Enter Tall Man. He's gonna gorgle up Mike's brain, but they stab him with an icy sphere that makes his hands melt from cold. And then they push him into the corpse refrigeration area. I don't know what you'd call that. The Tall Man has a sphere in his head, naturally, which escapes, but then they dunk it in Chekhov's cryogenics tub. So it's all good. The end. End of the movie, right? Nope. Mike is a sphere. Ah! Mike runs off because he's very sad about being a sphere. Jody Ball follows him because he knows what it's like to be a sphere. And he tells Reggie, don't trust everything you see, which is Phantasm speak for, I don't know, man, it looked cool. We're probably going to ignore it in the sequels. Rocky's like, yo, this sucks. I hate this. I'm not doing this anymore. Later, dudes. Then, of course, the Tall Man Ball Man escaped, and Reggie is covered in balls. Non-ball Tall Man is back, and Tim gets scooped up like in the end of the first movie. Remember that when they did that in another movie? Now they're doing it again in this movie. That's the end. That's Phantasm 3, The Lord of the Dead. What's shocking to me about this movie is how high the budget was. Phantasm 2 had a $3 million budget, and this one had a $2.5 million budget, but it does not look like 5/6 of the production value of Phantasm 2. I guess that amount of money just didn't take you as far in 1994. It's not a bad movie, it's just not as inventive as the previous two. There are little sparks of genius here and there. The whole sequence with Tim's house was great. I love Rocky having nunchucks. It's great having Jody Ball around. It just feels like more of the same old, and I wish the franchise took some bigger risks and tried to expand the mythology a bit more. Will I come to regret these words next week when I review Phantasm 4 Oblivion? Only time will tell, Ball fans. One thing I'm not going to regret is spending some time out there, going out, soaking up some more of the sunshine, because it's the summer, and these are summer movies. Tall Man hates the cold. I rest my case. Please stop asking me why I'm theming the reviews this way. They're summer movies. That's all. They're a vibe. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to pretend like I know how to play this ukulele.